Hi, I'm Caroline. Thank you for joining me for this menopause yoga session where we're going to be concentrating on releasing heat. So this will be ideal for those who suffer from hot flushes, irritability, aggression, anger, frustration. I sometimes call it menorage when I can feel the heat rising as well as the anger. And through the menopause and through our menopause journey, we have the fluctuating hormones, specifically or particularly estrogen. And this can affect the hypothalamus. It's a region of the brain that actually controls our body temperature, also our reproduction and our endocrine system as well. So with the fluctuations of estrogen, this is where we can feel that hot flush, that heat rising. But also with the endocrine system, this is the part of the system or the body that controls or governs our hormones. So it's all interlinked. And unfortunately, we suffer many of these symptoms in different ways. And I like to encourage women to keep some sort of diary or journal, because many women are able to find the links to what bring on the hot flushes or irritability or mood swings. So I know for me, alcohol is one of my main triggers. Many women find warm or hot baths a trigger, sugar a trigger, caffeine a trigger. So just being able to keep a note of maybe what you're doing, what you're eating, and how your general lifestyle, how you're living your lifestyle. And you may be able to connect the dots and work out what your triggers are. And as a result, be able to reduce the hot flushes and irritability, these symptoms that can really frustrate us and hinder our everyday life. So to begin with, we're going to start seated. I've got a variety of props here. I like to work with blankets. It always feels really comfortable for some padding under the knees. So maybe you have a couple of blankets. And if you have 2 or 3 blankets, or even part of a sofa, like the back of a sofa cushion, that can work as an alternative as a yoga bolster. I've got a bolster just behind me. I've also got a couple of cork bricks here and a couple of foam blocks as well. And again, these could be sturdy books, or some extra pillows and cushions. I've also got a yoga belt, which we will be using today. And this again can be a dressing gown belt, a bathrobe belt, a men's tie, maybe even a scarf. So just working with any props you're able to materialize from your home. I'm going to get a couple of blocks to sit on today. So this can just help our hips soften. So we're going to come to a seated cross-legged position. You're very welcome to sit on a chair if that feels more comfortable for you. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking for my knees to be level with or a little bit lower than the hips in Sukhasana. So cross-legged position where we're able to find some space here. The hips, that whole area of the pelvis is able to feel soft and almost relaxed. And with a bit of height under our glutes, we're also able to find a little bit more length through the spine. It supports our lumbar spine, our lower back. Taking a moment maybe to roll the shoulders softly up, back and down, and bringing the hands to rest on the knees and the belly, maybe cupped in your lap, wherever feels good for you today. Softening the gaze or closing the eyes. Maybe you're able to find a little bit more length through the spine towards the crown of the head. And breathing in and out through the nose, if that's possible today. And following the journey of the breath. So as you breathe in through the nostrils, following the breath into the lungs, noticing the belly expand. And then as you breathe out, following the breath out. So noticing which parts of the body are moving as you breathe in and breathe out. And to encourage a full, complete breath, maybe bringing the hands towards the belly. So often we find our breath is in our upper chest. It feels a little higher, a little tighter in the upper body. And we need to give the belly permission to expand as we breathe in. So as we breathe in, allowing the belly to expand, to balloon. And as we breathe out, bringing the navel towards the spine. And if this isn't happening for you today, just visualizing the movement of the belly. Visualizing the belly rising, expanding as you breathe in, and deflating as you breathe out can have the same effect on the body and the nervous system. If the mind wanders, bringing it back to concentrate on the breath. Bringing our awareness to the breath, we're consciously breathing. So, whereas we breathe every day, often without thinking about it, as we consciously breathe, we're able to manipulate our breath, maybe make it a little longer, a little slower, a little deeper. And reminding ourselves not to pass judgment on our breath. We're simply noticing it and following it. And encouraging it to expand within the body. Taking 3 more breaths like this. Inhaling through the nose, expanding the belly, allowing the ribcage to rise as the lungs fill, and the upper chest. And exhaling, encouraging the belly to deflate, the navel to move towards the spine, the lungs, and then the upper body, the upper chest to deflate. And when you've taken your 3 breaths, tucking the chin in towards the chest, gently opening the eyes and bringing the head back up to center. We'll change the cross of the legs. So changing the cross over, bringing a little bit of balance to the body. And we're just going to work with our head and our neck, our cervical spine at this point today. So taking a breath in and breathing out and taking your gaze over the right shoulder. So I'm looking towards the right. Maybe I'm able to turn the head a little further, but working with your body, reminding yourself this is your body, your practice. Listening to your body. So only going as far as feels comfortable for you. Coming back through center, inhaling, exhaling and turning over, turning the gaze towards the left-hand side. Allowing the shoulders to remain soft. And bringing the head back up to center once again. I'm going to take the right ear towards the right shoulder. So a gentle stretch, allowing the body to work out what's going on, what the movement is. And then maybe taking the ear towards the shoulder a little further. If you want a slightly stronger stretch, you can reach out either along your mat, along the ground, or reach out a little through the left hand. Slowly coming back up to center and taking the left ear to the left shoulder. Again, allowing the body to settle, and then maybe going a little further. And if you're wanting a little more, reaching through the right hand, the right fingertips. And slowly bringing the head back up to center. We'll take the gaze up towards the sky, reminding yourself not to throw the head back. And then slowly bringing the head back through center and the chin back towards the chest. And again, bringing the head back towards center. We're going to come to lying on our back. So removing any props you're sitting on, pop them out of the way. And having your belt or the prop you're using to hand. Lying on your back. And just taking a moment to allow the back and the shoulders to soften. Allow them to settle. We're often holding our shoulders up near and around our ears. So allowing them to let go, to soften down. And we're going to come into happy baby pose here. Now this can be very strong around the pelvis and the hips. So I'm just going to demonstrate a slightly gentler version. Coming into it, lifting the feet. And you can actually have the feet resting against the wall and bringing the knees in towards the armpits. That can feel really lovely and a little softer. Otherwise, we're bringing the knees in. We're taking the hands in between our feet. And then we're taking the outside, the little toe edge of the feet. Now, once again, if this feels a little too strong, maybe you're holding onto the legs, the ankles. Maybe you're holding onto the big toes. Working out where feels good for you. Wherever you are, gently bringing the chin towards the chest. We don't want to overarch the neck. So working with your body. Encouraging the length of the spine to stay grounded. Softening the face, softening the jaw. And then gently releasing your hand grip, or maybe moving away from the wall and giving the knees a little hug in. Apanasana. Bringing the knees in, gently letting them go. We'll do that a couple more times. Massaging the abdomen, the digestive system, as we do this. And bring the feet back down towards the mat. So having a sense that the feet are parallel and even, and we're going to take hold of our belt and pop it round the ball of the right foot. I have both hands on either sides of the belt, and to begin with there's a bend in the knee. And we're reaching through the heel, so we're aiming the heel towards the sky, the toes towards our face. And maybe this is enough for you, or maybe you feel able to straighten the leg. Safe to do, the knees and weight bearing in this position. Still reaching through the heel. If you know you're hypermobile, so particularly bending in the joints, always having the soft bend in the knee. Encouraging the shoulders to soften down. And today we're going to keep the left knee bent where it is. So finding length in the back of the leg. And if you can feel quite a lot of tightness in the leg, really bringing that focus to the breath. It can help to visualize the breath moving to the tight areas to release the tension. From here, I'm taking both ends of my prop, my strap or tie, whatever you're using, in my right hand. I'm taking my left hand, palm facing down on the left hand side, and I'm taking my right foot out towards the right. And I've turned the foot a little out, so I've turned the foot out and taken it out in that direction as well. It can help as a counterbalance to allow the left knee to roll out towards the left hand side. And I'm still reaching through the heel of the right foot. So just taking a moment to feel that the pelvis, the hips are still level. If there's a little bit of imbalance there, just bringing the leg in a little. Softening the shoulder. You can take the hand a little further down the belt, allow the elbow to rest on the ground if that feels better for you. And then on the next inhalation, coming back through center, changing the grasp. I'm taking my left hand on the belt, my right hand's coming down towards the mat, and I'm taking the right leg across the body. So I'm bringing the foot towards my face, heels still reaching away, and toes coming towards the body, the torso as well. I'm leaving my left knee bent again, and I'm trying to keep the right side of the hip and the pelvis grounded. So this can be particularly tight, the IT band. And if it is, if it's screaming, the muscles are screaming at you today, know that you can ease off. So the lovely thing about yoga is it's not about how far you go or how strong the pose is. It's very much about working with your body in that moment, in the present moment. And breathing, always remembering to breathe. Bringing the right foot back up through center, bending the knee and releasing that leg down. And straightening the leg out, maybe doing a couple of point and flexing at the foot, some circles. Reaching through the heel, lengthening through the leg. Just notice how that side feels now compared to the left. Maybe you want to stretch out the left. You may feel the right leg's already a little bit longer, a little bit gentler, a little bit softer. And then we'll bring the knees back in, or back up. Feet feeling grounded, feet feeling parallel. And we'll take the strap around the ball of the left foot. So once again, know that it can be very bent and you're reaching through the heel. You still get a lot of length through the back of the leg if it feels too much to straighten the leg. Otherwise, straightening the leg, reaching through the heel, toes coming towards the face. And remembering, if you're hypermobile, to have a softness in the knee. It's just to avoid overextending joints. So if you're super bendy, that can be a little too much, it's too harsh for the body. Reminding yourself the shoulders need to remain soft, the jaw soft. Are you still breathing, cultivating that long breath? Slow, even. Taking both sides of the belt, bringing the right hand down towards the right hand side, turning the left foot out and taking it out towards the left hand side, allowing the right knee to roll out towards the right hand side as a counterbalance. I'm reminding the pelvis and the hips need to be level or remain level. Maybe you're able to go a little further. You can rest the elbow on the mat, on the ground, still reaching through. So we can hold quite a lot of tightness and tension around our hips and pelvis. That can be emotional tension, but it also, if we're sitting a lot, running, walking, cycling, our hips, hip flexors can become quite tight. This is a wonderful, simple asana to be able to release the tightness around that area. It can be done alone, just this section can be done on its own each day to bring length to the legs and space to the hips. Breathing in, bringing the left foot back up, right knee's coming up. And then I'm changing the grip of the hand. So right hand on the prop, I'm taking the left foot across the body towards the right hand side, my left hand coming down towards the mat. Still reaching through the heel. Right knee is still tracking up towards the sky, allowing the left hip to stay grounded, softening the shoulders. And maybe noticing if this side is tighter, softer than the other side. And then slowly coming back up through center, releasing the belt and lengthening the leg down. Taking a moment to lift it, point, flex the foot a couple of times, making a couple of circles. And then releasing the leg back down, releasing both legs back down. Just noticing how they feel if we create a little bit of length already in the body. Drawing the knees in, giving our knees a hug. And then you can either rock and roll, massaging the back of the body to come up, or turn over onto one side and use your hands to push yourself up to sitting. We're going to come into CatCow. If you know your knees feel a little bit tender today, you may want a little bit more padding around the knees or under the knees. This is where a blanket can feel nice. Or you can fold the mat in half or fold one end of a mat if you're using a yoga mat. We want to really think about the spreading of the fingers here, the spreading of the hands. So as you place the hands down, the hands are roughly under the shoulders, they're shoulder width apart. And we want to look for a weight distribution that's even over the hands. So even over the thumbs and the little fingers. That's going to bring a very gentle internal rotation into the wrists. The inner elbows are pointing in towards each other. And the shoulders are moving away from the ears. My knees are about hip distance apart. They're roughly under the hips as well. We're going to breathe in, take the gaze forward, allow the belly to drop and the sitting bones to rise up towards the sky. And then breathing out, arching the spine, so coming into that sort of angry cat position, taking the gaze towards the knees. So working with your breath, doing 5 more rounds here, and trying to make the movement start with the sitting bones. So we're moving from the sitting bones, the head is the last part of the body to move. As we breathe out, we curl round, take the gaze towards the navel. Maybe the gaze is a little higher each time, working with your neck. So being mindful of the neck, being gentle. Having a softness in the elbows. Working slowly. And trying to make the breath last as long as the movement and vice versa. And when you've taken your 5 rounds, we're going to bring the right foot forward. So bringing the right foot forwards, we're into a lunge position. Now, if you know you'd like a little bit more stretch over the left hip, you can tuck the toes, take the left knee back a little, and you can come onto fists here, or even use blocks or big bricks or books either side to sort of almost raise the height of the floor, and that can feel quite nice there. If you would like a little bit more, we're going to come up. So just ensuring the right knee is above the right ankle. We're coming up, and then maybe you're taking the hands overhead, fingers stretched, palms facing in, and sinking a little lower. Breathing wherever you are. Ensuring this is working for your body. So maybe you've come all the way with the hands raised and it feels a little too strong. So know that you can ease off. On the next exhalation, we're bringing the hands back down towards the mat. We're going to step back into a plank position here. So stepping back, knowing that plank can be done on the knees or the toes, but making sure we're spreading the hands. So really thinking about the spread of the hands. If you're on knees, you're on knees. Inner elbows pointing towards each other, shoulders away from ears. Otherwise on toes. And finding the strength in plank pose. Belly, navel towards the spine to protect the lower back. Neck in line with spine. Breathing here. This is great for keeping our bones healthy, both bone density, strengthening, and then slowly coming down to the knees if you're not there already. We're going to come into frog pose. So big toes are together, knees are wide apart, and then I'm taking my hands forwards, and this is where you may need some height under your head. It can feel really lovely and supportive to have the height. My forehead is resting on a block or a brick, or maybe even a bolster. The elbows can be resting down, or maybe you're making it a little bit stronger. So making it work for you here. Slowly creeping the hands back up. Removing the prop to one side. Coming back into our cat-cow. So we're going to do another 6 rounds of cat-cow. Making sure the hands are spread again. Even weight distribution over the hands. In elbows pointing in towards each other. We're breathing in to look forwards. Allowing the belly to move towards the earth. And breathing out to curl the spine round. And come into that almost angry cat position. The gaze goes behind us towards the navel. Trying to begin the movement from the tailbone, making the head the last part of the body to move. So initiating, it's like a spiraling wave effect through the spine. Being mindful of the neck, maybe you're able to take it a little further, the gaze a little higher. And as you tuck round, maybe the chin comes towards the chest a little more. Oh, once you've done your 6 rounds, coming through to our neutral spine and bringing the left foot forward. So we're back into a lunge on the opposite side, making sure the left knee is stacked to the left ankle. Maybe you want a little bit of height here. So bringing the floor towards you, softening the shoulders away from the ears. And remember, you can take the right knee back a little bit further for a stronger stretch around the right hip and the right side of the pelvis. Maybe you're coming up, so bringing the hands to the hips, Maybe raising the arms overhead, palms facing in towards each other, gently sinking down. So reminding ourselves that it can feel very different on either side. On one side, something may work better than on the other. So listening to your body, making any adjustments you need to. Encouraging the shoulders to stay soft. And on the next exhalation, bring the hands back down towards the mat. We're coming into our plank pose. So stepping back and finding your plank, finding the length through the body, whether it's on knees or on toes. We want the inner elbows to be pointing in towards each other. Shoulders softening away from the ears, making a line. So we're not sinking down. It's not almost like downward dog. There's a long line here. Belly button, navel towards the spine, really strengthening the lower back. Gaze towards the floor so the neck is in line with the spine. So feeling the strength, knowing you are strong, you are able to hold plank. Gently coming down onto the knees. We're coming to our version of frog today again. So big toes together, knees wide apart. I'm having a block under my forehead. You may prefer to sit back into child's pose. That's always an option. Finding your frog position. Watching the breath. And gently bringing the hands back towards the body. Removing the block. And coming into any version of child's pose that feels good for you. So you may be all the way around in a ball, hands under the forehead or a block. Maybe the head is resting on the floor, on the mat, and the hands behind you. Finding your version that works for you. And feeling the comfort of this pose, the safety and the security of it. Noticing the breath moving into the back of the body. And then gently, slowly coming back up to a seated position. We're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold now. So this is where you could use a chair and have a chair to rest your head on. We're going to come into a forward fold like that. I'm going to use blocks and a bolster. You could use some cushions, some pillows. And I'm able to prop my bolster up with a little bit of height there. Maybe need one more block. So if you imagine you can have a couple of pillows or 3 or 4, a bit of a sofa, whatever you can to have a little bit of height here. The legs don't need to be too wide, but we want to ensure the feet are active. So all that means is the feet are flexed, toes are pointing up towards the sky. If you find it a little too much for the lower back, you find it's really hard to lift through, then remember you can sit on some height. Bring some height there to support the lumbar spine. Soften the shoulders. We're going to breathe in and breathe out. We're folding forwards, always leading with the heart. So that encourages a fold from the hips rather than the waist. Maybe the hands are either side of the props you're using. Remember, you can bring the head to a chair, depending on the flexibility around your hips and pelvis. Once there, maybe it's the forehead that rests down. If you prefer to turn the head, then resting with the head turned.
So we're giving time to the body, we're giving time to ourselves, something we don't often do, particularly as women. And this time's allowing the body to soften, allowing the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons to have the time to lengthen and find space. Ensuring the feet are still active, the face, the jaw is soft. If your head is turned, making sure you turn the head in the opposite direction to bring balance to the body. And very slowly, mindfully coming out of the position, the pose, taking your time to come all the way out, releasing, moving the props, and bringing the knees all the way in. Gently, I'm just gently giving my knees a little hug in here, making sure I release any tension or tightness. It's almost like a counter pose. And then coming back to sitting. We're going to come into sleeping swan now to release a little bit more tightness around the hips. Once again, you can do this with a chair. I'm going to build some props, some height. So I'm going to make a similar setup to the one I've just had for my wide-legged forward fold, but actually I'm going to make it a little bit higher, I think, this time, and just see how that feels. So sleeping swan, I'm coming into a box position to begin with, and then I'm going to bring my right leg forwards at an angle. So my right foot is towards the left-hand side of the mat, and my right knee is towards the right-hand side of the mat. Now, we have to be mindful of knees here. If you know you have a knee injury or it just doesn't feel right, you can tuck that right foot under. So making that decision can soften everything a little and make the knee a little happier. Otherwise, we're coming here, and then I'm tucking my left toes under to straighten the leg and allow the left foot to come back down. So that's where I am, making it work for you. So if it feels too strong, come back into a version of child's pose. You can be supported child's pose with the head on a bolster or brick. You may want to stay here with a softness in the elbows. Maybe again, this is too strong. So remember, you can have some blocks up here and bring the height of the floor towards you to ease off. Otherwise, we're folding forward. So I'm creeping forwards. And my body is resting on the prop here. And I'm going to turn to look over towards the left-hand side. Maybe closing the eyes, maybe softening the gaze. So allowing some more space to be released around the right hip, the right glute. You may feel it in other parts of the body. Focusing on the breath. And directing the breath, visualizing the breath moving towards the areas of tightness, releasing those areas. Slowly creeping the hands back down towards the body. Lifting yourself out of the position. You may just want to roll onto the right glute, the right side to gently come out of the position. And then we're changing sides. So finding your position on the other side. I'm coming back into a box position. You may find it's easier to come into it from a different way. So this time the left leg is coming forwards, left knee towards the left hand side of the mat, right leg towards the right, left foot towards the right. And just making sure you're set up again. Remembering you can bring the height of the floor a little higher to make it softer if the pose already feels quite strong. And we're encouraging the right leg to extend out from the right hip. So as I look behind me, I can already see it's a little squint. So I'm lifting the right foot, right toes up, lifting through and extending through the leg. Remembering to tuck the left heel in towards the body a little closer if the knee is not happy. And coming into your version of Sleeping Swan on this side. And this side, remembering to turn the head in the opposite direction if you're coming all the way and resting on a prop. Maybe noticing the difference on this side. So reminding ourselves that our bodies, our skeletons are not even. We've got a dominant side. So one side may well feel tighter than the other. A sense of surrendering into this pose. Often we're holding back a little because it feels quite tight. So if you feel that you are maybe adding some more props in to support your body, to support you. Releasing the hands, very slowly coming out of the position, the shape you have created for your body. Taking your time to maneuver out. And we're going to slowly make our way to lying down. So we're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana. We're going to be lying down with the soles of the feet together and the knees coming out towards the sides. There is an option to do this with a bolster and some height under the body. So I'm just going to demonstrate like this. It can feel a little strong on the lower back, so we're making sure it works for our bodies. If you get there and that feels too much, you can try taking the heels away from you a little. That can maybe soften it. Or moving the props out the way and doing this supine on your mat or on the floor. So just ensuring this feels comfortable to hold for a couple of minutes. You may want some props under the knees to support the knees. That can feel really lovely. The hands can rest on the belly or palms can face up towards the sky. Maybe you close the eyes or soften the gaze. And once again, we're looking for a sense of letting go, allowing ourselves to be supported by the mat, by the earth, by the props we're using. And often as women, we need to give ourselves permission to take time out. So reminding ourselves, we've given ourselves permission to spend a bit of time on us. Me time. Time for yourself. To nurture you, to look after you. Once again, bringing the awareness to the breath. As the belly stretched to this position, you may find the rise and the fall of the belly minimal. So focusing on the rise and the fall of the rib cage, the lungs. Encouraging a softness across the face. We're going to slowly make our way into relaxation. So taking your time, gently bringing the hands to either side of the outside of the thighs there and encouraging the knees together. Rolling over onto one side as you gently come out of that position. If you are using props, moving them out the way. And coming into your preferred version of relaxation. So that may be lying in Savasana, that may be lying down with the knees bent. It can feel really supported to have the legs supported by the wall, so legs up the wall, or legs resting on a chair. Finding your version and encouraging your body to stay warm, to remain warm, to feel cozy. So maybe that's a blanket or a couple of extra layers. Whichever position you're in, ensuring you feel comfortable, taking the time to feel comfortable. Maybe you want a cushion under the head. You want to feel supported, to feel warm, to feel cozy, to feel nurtured. And wherever you are, maybe the hands are on the belly, or the hands resting by the sides of the body, the palms facing up towards the sky. So encouraging space and openness in the chest for the breath. Allowing the shoulders to soften. Being aware of the glutes and the hip area, which we've worked with a lot today. Ensuring you're not holding any tension or tightness there, a sense of letting go. Softening of the facial muscles, allowing the tongue to rest in the lower part of the jaw. And following the breath. Using the breath as your anchor. To bring stillness to the mind. Slowly bring your awareness back into the space you're practicing today. Making gentle movements through the hands and the feet. Maybe taking the hands overhead for a full body stretch. Drawing the knees in for a hug. Taking the movements you need to gently awaken the body out of relaxation. And rolling on to the left hand side. So this is our yin side. And gently using your hands to push yourself up to a seated position. Maybe sitting cross-legged, maybe kneeling, maybe sitting on a chair, making sure you've got any height you need to support the body. Finding the length again in the spine. Softening the gaze, maybe closing the eyes. And just taking a moment to notice how you feel. A combination of hatha, yin and restorative yoga coming together as yoga to support the menopause. Maybe bringing the hands together at heart center in Anjali Mudra, joining both halves of the body together. Thanking yourself for taking the time for you today, for you to practice yoga, for you to feel supported, for you to feel nurtured, for you to feel held. I'm going to take my hands up to my forehead to remind us to have kind thoughts, to my lips to remind us all to have kind words, and back down to my heart center to remind us all to have kind actions. Om Shanti. Thank you for joining me for that menopause yoga session today. And as I finish my class with kind thoughts, kind words, kind actions, really thinking about taking away today the word ahimsa, which means compassion, kindness, and thinking about that towards ourselves. That's what we need to give ourselves through our menopause journeys. We can have such a variety of symptoms and often feel lost and alone. So trying to hold on to remind ourselves of ahimsa, compassion and kindness towards ourselves, and giving ourselves even a few minutes, if we can, of what we need. Maybe that's a moment to breathe. Maybe it's doing this yoga class once again. Or maybe it's just a 10-minute walk on our own, or maybe with a friend. But ensuring we've got that support and that nurture we need through our menopause journey. I'm Caroline. Thank you once again for joining me today, and I hope to see you again soon.